And it's interesting because I don't know if you paid attention about how different your breathing is when it's humid out, when it's dry out. Just in general, it's a good thing to start just kind of without it being too intense, just start paying attention to the different ways that the weather affects your breathing. Like, for example, when it's humid, there's a different kind of nourishment. A lot of the pranayama was developed from India and was developed in very humid weather, which is very different than when you're dry, right? So, and just in general, like the different, just pay attention. It's a good thing. It's obviously one of the most important intersections you have in your whole everything. All right, so start to allow. Like, I don't know, like when I say that word, the thing about these words is that you hear them a lot and then you kind of like, I hope you're practicing what it means to allow. Right? Like you actually take that word seriously. So, and I don't just mean like allow, like hold your breath or you wait for the next beat. I mean, what does it mean to allow without collapsing? Okay, like so allowing, because again, we're looking for a way to have the brain be in a more passive, receptive mode, not just your mind, right? And so the allowing, right? And if you start to, because I've done so much yoga, like right away when I start to allow, my organs of perception start to soften, like right off the bat, like, and that's just a habit, right? And that's why you do so much practice. And so, but what else do you do to allow? Like for me, right away, because I instruct it so often, but I also do it so often, I feel my base. I let myself sink a little bit into my base, but I allow right away that I'm in a room that has 3 dimensions. There's that's part of the allowing, that I'm part of something, right? That's a really, like literally, you're part of something. You're a manifestation right in the middle of a whole bunch of other manifestations, right? And how do you make the allowing feel like a sensation? What do you think sensation is? Right? So all these things, and all this I'm doing even before I start asana, right? So one of the ways to start tuning in more inwardly is to pay more attention to your exhale, because we know this connects us more to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what brings you into homeostasis. So I hope you're getting better at learning how to soften your eyes without closing them right away. Because a lot of people close their eyes and don't even soften their eyes. But if you think about it, everyone open your eyes for a second, right? That closing your eyes, everyone close them, doesn't just eliminate all the input, but it softens your eyes. The reference on the eyeball softens your eyes. So open them again, and of course they get more active because there's light coming in. But can you soften your eyes even while they're open? Because that's going to be in every yoga pose too, right? So then now close your eyes. Right away, feel your exhalation. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. So now you're going to the inside of your mouth to soften it. Your jaw, around the temples. Balance your head over your neck. At the end of your next exhalation, notice the spark of inhalation. Start to become more active in your base. Feel your feet, your sitting bones. Start to lift your lower abdomen up as you hit the sitting bones down. Don't just too quickly go to lift your chest. Try to feel as you hit your sitting bones down. Try to travel up each vertebrae. So it's a process. And then lift your chest. Feel the structure of your body. The sitting bones extend from the inner groin down to the inner knee, down to the inner heel. Lift the chest up. Feel the outline of your body, but stay connected to the whole room. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good. And then release. Take your sternum over towards your chin down over your sternum. Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. One of the things about that relationship between hitting down with your sitting bones and lifting the lower abdomen up, and you want to learn how to do that, especially in the centering part. You want to learn how to do that without too much strain. But so in some ways there's considered to be three diaphragms. There's the one, of course, that goes around that that part, but there's also considered one to be underneath your collarbones in yoga, right? But also especially in your lower abdomen, right? And so all those instructions that I often give, like hitting down with your sitting bones and lifting up with your abdomen, right? And even broadening across your sacrum, across your very low back, right? Your inhalation, and you should practice this both sitting up and lying down. Your inhalation actually, there's like a very gentle grip, or I wouldn't even call it a grip. I'd call it a grounding in the lower diaphragm that anchors the beginning of the inhalation, right? Now, this is something when you live with a spinal cord injury that you lose track of, right? But there's a real, so everyone like feel your sitting bones, lift your lower abdomen up and broaden it and feel what that feels like, right? So that's more, that's more than you want to do when you're anchoring your inhalation, right? But the point is you want your middle diaphragm to actually be supported from underneath, grounded from underneath, so your inhalation can begin from a grounded, um, quiet place. So ever so slightly, everyone is feel your sitting bones and notice this already happens if you take an inhalation, especially if you're able to do it through your nose, right? There's already something beginning low down, right? That's why I think it's a little bit of a misnomer to talk about belly breathing, because it's like it starts lower than that. So on these next couple inhalations, make sure the breath is starting from down low. And then when you exhale, let your shoulder blades drop. So there's a grounded coming up, right? Good. And then release. When you're more aware of the bottom, beginning just a little bit more conscious of it, I don't know if it's your experience, but it's my experience that because of that anchoring, very gentle anchor, I can feel the breath more symmetrically come up my body, right? That matters, right? And it's a little bit horrifying because you'll find that it doesn't stay symmetrical as you inhale, typically, right? Especially if you have any kind of scoliosis. So again, use the fact that you've got grounded sitting bones lightly though, right? Each lung and each nostril creating a symmetry for the inhalation, right? So take a couple more breaths. So then when you start to do that, you'll see each inner heel, you'll start to see the whole corridor. The breath won't begin just at your lower abdomen. You'll start to realize your whole midline is breathing. And then the exhalation, you drop shoulder blades, or let this lifts. That's that whole exhaling from the back ribs that I've taught for a long time. As you breathe with this much symmetry, keep your eyes open and see if it affects your vision, meaning that like it makes me be more aware because I've got a core. I'm able to take in more more in my peripheral vision. Like I'm more aware of my surroundings. So the structure doesn't limit, it actually opens. So the structure of your body helps your awareness open. I'm going to ask you to do something weird. Feel your, as you take these next couple of breaths, feel your back body but also feel as if you could look, there were eyes in the back of your head. In other words, soften back there. Because remember, the breath goes in every direction. It's just your mind that doesn't. Close your eyes if you want to. I have a harder time being aware all the way around me, my eyes closed. Good, and then release. Again, practicing your breath in relationship to expanded awareness is what yoga is what asana is, right? And it's worth, say you got 5 minutes and you're waiting and you're sitting somewhere waiting for something. That's what I love about yoga. All right, everyone lift up and get the length in your back, get that traction, that sense of space, right? And then set yourself back down and see what happens to that lower diaphragm every time you sit down. It's harder to breathe when you're sitting in a chair. And then lean forward and hit your sitting bones down. And we're just like lengthening that part of our back. Again, especially when you're seated a lot, right? That part of your back just needs space. And then if there's a place to put your hands, right? So now I've got, in relationship to my lengthening back, if you have to have your hands on your forearms, on your knees, that's fine too. But I'm trying to use the reference of where my hands are to feel where my sitting bones are, right? Because they're mirrors within mirrors. You can use different parts of your body to feel different parts of your body. So this is important, especially if you have like hemiparesis, or you've got things that are unequal ways that your body fires, right? Your inner body doesn't fire the same way your physical body is. So you're using that inward awareness, both hands, both sitting bones, both feet. Remember, prana follows consciousness more than it follows breath. So you're being aware, and then you take your breath and you inhale and exhale a couple times, letting the breath touch where the awareness is. Open it up. It's like opening the window, letting fresh air in. Good. And then release. Notice the difference when you sit straight up and down and your back slightly compresses, right? Now try to hit your sitting bones down, broaden across your sacrum and lift up. In this, trying to recapture what it felt when your low back was lengthening. So there isn't the same kind of compression. And then release and come forward again. So I'm really working. I'm going to do it now even stronger this time. I'm really working for that space in my back. And I'm watching the consequence of that space in my back, right? So this time, as I'm hitting the sitting bones down, lifting up the lower abdomen, broadening across the sacrum, I'm also being more aware of pressing down through my heels and lifting my sternum. And then breathing. So this is like a warm-up. This is like a pranic warm-up. Making space and breath. And then back up again and watch and see if you can keep the space, even though gravity is going to want to compress it, right? So now keep, like, as if each vertebrae didn't have a downward force. It was able to maintain its integrity, like without compressing. That's part of why you lift your chest. It wasn't just about lifting your chest, it was getting your whole spine to lengthen to lift your chest. Good. And then release. Take your legs a little bit wide. So now we're just trying to open up the base. So I'm moving it off the pedals, or bring your knees farther apart. And so now I'm just feeling this and watching how it changes. Not only how I feel in the chair, but my breathing. So I'm like, as I'm in a different position, instead of thinking nothing happened, a whole bunch just happened, right? And now I want to like refine that inward center. Now lean over to the left and put more weight with your forearm down on that leg, right? So my left arm is pressing down on my left leg, and I want the left side of my rib cage to lengthen, right, in relationship to that action. I want the right side of my chest to open. So I'm just doing it. I'm not asking you to twist. I'm actually getting you to like feel changes in your spine, changes in your breath. Right, good. And then release. And by the way, I'm not asking you to take deep breaths. I'm not asking that. I'm actually having you change the position of your body. So then lean over with your right hand down to your right. And right away, and then I want the right side of your rib cage to make sure it's not shortening. So I'm pressing down on my leg with my forearm. I'm lengthening the right side of my body. I'm lifting my chest. I'm opening here. And I'm just letting my breath register. Whatever breathing you're already doing. Right? Good. And then release. And then take your hands on the front of your knees and push back in towards your hip sockets. And then notice, so that brings your spine to more, when you push in with your hands, part of what happens here is your spine comes into more alertness, right? That changes your breath. I can't get as deep a breath here, but I like it. And then when I release and don't push on my knees, and I don't get my spine more alert, feel what your next couple of breaths feel like here. So one of the things that I experience, I'm gonna put my hands on my knees again, and I push in. Now I'm not doing it so hard that I'm straining. But notice is the beginning of the inhalation. Notice the beginning of the inhalation when you're grounding your femur bones back towards your hip sockets. Now release. Put your hands not against your knees, and then start your inhalation. Can you see it starts in a different place when your legs aren't as grounded? The strain is in a different place. Bring your hands back onto your knees. Things like this are gonna give you endurance in yoga poses, in holding poses longer. Recognizing the importance of grounding for your breathing. So we're just watching. Good. And then bring your legs back together. Mm-hmm. Sit up straight and tall. Kick down with your sitting bones. Lift up with your chest. Extend from the inner groin to the inner knee. Make space between each side. Just Tadasana, right? Just Tadasana. Now put your arms on the inside of your legs. So your inner knees, your inner thighs and inner knees are pressing against the back of your hands, right? Drop the shoulder blades down. Lift the sternum up. This is a form of upward facing dog, right? You're having a different kind of reference. Breathe into your side ribs. Good. And then release. Take a couple of just recovery breaths. Now on this one, I want you to just take your left hand outside your right leg. We're going to do a gentle twist. But what I want, come back to center for a second. I want you to practice feeling your sitting bones in your feet, right? Lifting, feeling the thing. But when you go to turn, I want you to turn. As you turn your body, I want you to turn the space behind your body too, right? So I want you to try to, and sometimes for me, I think about it, if a kid's swirling a sprinkler in the water, think about water coming out your back body, and you're turning the water, right? You're doing something so you can feel more of it. So again, take your right hand, left hand outside your right leg. I want you to turn, ground your sitting bones. That's interoception, the inside body, but turn the space around your body. Now, if you try to go too far, you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to stay connected. So you're bringing the world with you on the turn, as if your spine isn't come back to center, isn't just constrained to where it is. Your spine is, the physical spine, but it's got a wider circumference that it's actually moving in and affecting. So take your right hand outside your left leg, right? And again, instead of just turning your body, I want you to be aware of looking out from the backside of your head, the backside, right? Inhale, lift up, exhale, and gently revolve, but turn the space with you. Lift out in the collarbones, roll your shoulders back. Feel your sitting bones down. Feel where your bottoms of your feet are. And turn the space with you. Good. And then come on back to center. Feel the center again. And come forward, lengthening your back. This time, if you are by a table, right, come up onto your elbows, right? So this will change things again, right? So, and if you're if you're not by a table, you can press your forearms into the ground and do it somewhat this way. It's just not as exaggerated. So I'm forward like this, right? Now I like to put my palms together, right? Because whenever I can find the midline, this is a secret to doing yoga. Whenever I can do anything to make the midline be more clear to me, right? Then I can find the midline of my spine. But now I want you to lengthen the underside of your arm out to the elbow. In other words, drop your shoulder blades down, lengthen out the elbow. Now lift the sternum. All of this should change the quality of awareness that's possible between your palms or between your hands. Find where your feet are. Use the structure in order to move the subtle body, right? So you've got a position you're in. And actually, that's why it doesn't matter exactly if you're on the table, right? But you're using your structure to find out how to engage with more and more of you. That doesn't necessarily mean work harder. It means work with more of you. And then take a few breaths. Good. And then come on back up. So one of the things that I was a huge opening for my yoga practice, and I use, like even right here again, is to know that there are and I don't know how it works. I don't know how our brains are wired exactly, but there are ways to make one part of your body touch another part of your body when you're working on the inward level, right? So like when you're like, for those of you, like when I put my hands in prayer, I'm going to do it leaning forward a little bit. When I do this, right? My elbows are on the table, or they could be on your thighs, right? You can use like the connection between your hands to reflect or be a mirror for the connection between your inner thighs and the connection between your inner heels. That one space touches all spaces, right? Now, I teach this to advanced yoga teachers, right? Trying to get them to realize that the inward dimension is already touching, it's already all connected. It's our physical body that isn't. So you're sitting here and being patient, feeling your palms, feeling your elbows, feeling each side of your back, and going inward, engaging the center of your spine, feeling the feet, using this awareness now to take, using your breath to fill the whole vessel, because you're already aware of the whole vessel. Good. And then release, because this kind of connection is, you can get this kind of full bodied awareness also just from movement. So like the awareness that we just practiced, that's more full bodied, right? And we're going to do it one more time. And I'm going to do it now for those of you that don't have a table. I'm going to do it just leaning on my legs here. So what I want is you to make a pose out of making connections, right? So, and I want your hands, whatever way they can touch or not touch, to be one of the epicenters, right? So the awareness in between your palms going to the awareness that across your sacrum, going to the awareness to each heel, right? Now lift your chest, equalize the pressure, and try to get a sense of your whole body, starting from one place and letting the one place grow to other places. Now, as I'm doing this, my pose is getting more and more intense, right? I'm actually working harder physically too. This isn't just my imagination. When I start making these connections, like spreading my palms, spreading my sacrum, spreading the heel spreading the skin on my bottom of my heels, right? I start to let the awareness start to guide the movement and action in my body. And I breathe. Now, like for example, my right elbow is forearm is beginning to hurt because I have a nerve pinch there, right? But that means I'm overworking with my hands in prayer. I'm letting my body start telling me things about the way I'm working and if it's balanced. Good. And then release. So just hopefully you are doing that with some intensity, not just waiting for my words. And now take that intensity of the whole body and bring it to your sitting posture. Be in your whole body. Now there are ways, one of the great things about like moving your spine more is you can get to this same kind of overall awareness through movement, right? So everyone come forward. And then back, and come back up over your chair. And then back forward again. So now we're just going back and forth here. In this, your spine is staying in this plane, right? But you're just going back and forward, right? So you're moving with some rhythm. Going back and forth. Good, and then put your hands on your knees and push in on your knees and get your chest to lift. right? So you've got the grounded energy that we first went through with trying to help you breathe, right? And then release again and go back over the back of your chair and then come forward. So here, as you come forward, now lift your chest, broaden across the collarbones, upward facing dog. Pause here. Bring your shoulder blades farther down. Bring your sitting bones down in the chair. Lift up through. Feel your feet on the floor. Make this a pretty intense pose. Now, as you got more effort going in your pose, is there places your breath goes faster than others? Places that don't let your breathing happen. Good, and then release. Notice those places. Now, as you come to a more neutral position, so like I've got something jammed here on this side of my abdomen. I think that's still from my surgery, right? So I've got to sit there and figure out in a more neutral position, how can I breathe more to the other side? So you've got a story in your body. I don't know which one you need to work on, what exact place you need to work on, but I'm telling you, in the effort is where you learn where you're asymmetrical, right? The effort starts to draw your pose for you. Good, and then come on forward again. A version of upward facing dog, right? So now I want you to ground down through the sitting bones, feel your feet, start to lift the chest, drop the shoulder blades down, but don't pinch them together. Drop them down and spread them. Start to take your head back. Feel your sitting bones. Get your breath starting underneath the back bend. Good. And then go straight back to backing up and over your chair. Totally different back bend. Right? Totally different kind of intensity. Right? And then forward again. Upward facing dog. Now you could be putting your hands on the table. You could have them on your thighs. On the table, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to move a little bit closer. Actually, I'm too far away. And I'm going to make the pose go here. But now you've got to check yourself. Are you overstraining your low back? Are you doing upward facing dog from one vertebrae? Yes, you are. Most likely there's one vertebrae that's taking it right on the chop. Right on the chops. There's one or two vertebrae. So you're in upward facing dog with intensity. You just went to the one habit you have that you exploit on your body. Feel both sit bones, both heels. Get equal from side to side in your ribs. Then go with intensity into upward facing dog, but do it with more balance, more intensity, more balance. And then make sure your breath is expanding you in every direction. So you're feeling the inner circumference of your rib cage, the grounding of your sitting bones, the feeling in your heels. Good. And then release. One of the things that yoga poses teach you is where you're defaulting. When you work hard, you default to certain things in your body, and those are the places the injuries are going to show up. Because your mind thinks, oh, I'm not working hard unless I overgrip in the one spot that I always overgrip in, right? And so poses done with intensity are to reveal your mistakes, not to push farther in, right? And I can already tell you, I can feel where I didn't do it right. So I'm taking a couple of breaths. I'm sitting, and even if you don't use your breath, I'm sitting in neutral and bringing awareness to the parts of my body, and especially where I'm overworking. I mean, like I just saw the whole nerve problem I'm having through this shoulder because I overworked it. I just did it. I saw it in a pose. It's like that. I must be doing that all day long, right? And that's part of what you're looking for. All right, and then go back and up and over your chair. So for me, and then take your legs away. For me, there's only so much, like that's why I just did a back bend. When I start to become aware of what I'm not doing quite right, or when I'm overtaxing my body, I have to change. Like if I stay there too long, I just feel bad about everything I do. I've been doing yoga for so long, like how the hell am I still doing upward facing dog asymmetrically? Well, you're different every day. So put your left arm into your left leg, right? And start to turn. Grab the back of your chair, start to turn. So I want your legs spreading as your chest lifts and you revolve some. So there's a stretch on your left groin because you're pushing against that leg. You're turning your spine the opposite direction, right? And making sure you're trying to press down through each leg as one leg's opening. Take whatever breath you have and notice where it goes, right? Where it goes. And then come back to center. Ooh, be in center. Yikes. Taking a couple recovery breaths. See, when I practice with you, I'm like showing you what I do when I overwork. I need a couple of recovery breaths right there. So now I'm going to press, right, my right arm into my right leg and start to turn. Ooh, there's a part of my back that's not so happy, right? So I'm pressing down, I'm lifting up. So that action is happening, right? But now, because I know that overdid my low back, I'm pressing down through each sitting bone. I'm trying to feel each heel. So I don't overwork that part of my back that's willing to lift faster. Broaden across the collarbones. Keep more awareness in the sitting bones, right? So you're breathing, although you're not taking a deep breath, and initiate from down lower. Good. And then come on back to center. Now with your legs wide, come forward, right? So now you've got a different base. So even if you're using your own chair, what I want you to get is now your hands and feet are wider. So, and my feet can't fully touch well on the floor. So this is where it's like, I have to like really try to work on awareness without physical contact. So now as my hands create conditions of safety, so you got to make sure you're not feeling like you're falling, right? I want you to feel your sitting bones spread across your sacrum, but project your awareness out each knee, right? So move from across the backside of your sacrum, extend from the inner groin to the inner knee. But now it's going farther out into the room, right? So open the corresponding part of your chest to follow the knees, the energy from the spine to the knees. Now be aware of the whole room. Fill the whole room. Good time to breathe. Now, upward facing dog, but don't just do it from your low back. Keep extending as you lift your chest, extend from each side of the sacrum out to the knee, push out through the knees and lift the chest. Ground the hands. Breathe. Good. And then release. Bring your legs back to center. Now you worked hard. You were wider in space. Be more aware of the midline. Sit up straight and down. Press down on your thighs. And find some normal breathing. See where you're not breathing enough into. See how you need to adjust to not let the awareness always pool in the places you overwork. What's interesting about overworking in a place is usually you're less aware of the place, but it's where all the energy is getting trapped. So eventually your muscles start to yell at you. Good. And then take your legs wide again. Now, I'm going to do one arm at a time. In a second, you guys can do both. I just don't have enough balance. I want to go. I'm pressing my left hand, my left wrist into my left leg, and I'm going out wide this way. So now I'm going up beyond my fingertips by rolling, taking my shoulder blade back into my body, right? But I want to, as I'm doing this with my right arm, I want to extend out from the right sitting bone to the right knee and move my energy from the knee out into the room as I stretch my arm in the opposite direction, as I hit my sitting bones down, as I lift my chest up. I want my whole body moving in every direction. Good, and then release. I'm feeling the center again, right? So again, what we're trying to do is do a version of standing poses while sitting. And one of the things that standing poses do, regardless of the particular pose, is they make you ground and go into the whole room, right? That's why they're empowering. So now I'm going to take my right arm, push it against my right inner thigh. I'm going to lift my chest, take my arm wide, right? And as I take in order to go beyond my fingertips over here, I take my shoulder blade into the hips, into my shoulder socket, extend from the center of the arm out to the fingertips, press down through my right hip and my right foot. Now extend as my arm's going this way. I'm extending from my sacrum out my right bent knee. So I'm going in multiple directions at once. I'm looking at Anna right now. Drop your shoulder down. Your shoulder, roll it into the socket. If you're in England, roll your shoulder into your socket. I can see it right in front of me here. Right? I'm not just picking on you. I'm picking on everybody. Good. And then release. And come on back to center. So this idea that in order to expand, you need to go towards the midline. So I could have said anyone, just unfortunately, you're right in the center of my screen, right? So here you guys, some of you are holding your arm up and you weren't turning it down and under, like bringing it back into the hip socket, making this stand upright as you stretch. So now put your left arm against your left leg, take your arm wide. Instead of having the shoulder up like this, I'm exaggerating. Bring it under, bring it under, bring it back towards the shoulder girdle, extend out through your fingertips, right? And as you bring it back towards the shoulder girdle, that's the energy that allows you to extend out to the left knee, right? That's the unity. Breathe. So if I go like this, everything collapses, right? So I'm trying to show you, good, how to extend out, take your arm down. The opposite side has everything to do with whether you're moving back towards your midline. That's what so many people, beginning traditional students, don't get, is that although the limbs are going in all these directions, you're moving back towards the midline in order to expand into space. And people that don't do that get injured, right? But it takes a long time to figure that out. So now, same other side. So my right arm's against my right thigh. I'm going out. Now it'd be easy just to hold my arm up there. No, I'm bringing it back in towards the midline, hitting it back and then extending up through my fingertips. But that movement of going back through the midline and engaging my spine is how I stretch out through my right knee, right? How I extend out across my sacrum through my right knee. I need the container to have boundary on the inside in order to expand in opposite directions. Good, and then release. Bring your legs together. So that's part of the paradox that you learn from asana, is that in order that everything still needs to come back home in order to extend out, right? Like that's constantly happening in yoga poses. So sit up straight and tall. So I'm going to push down because my legs, I can tell that was wide for a long time. I'm going to push down on my femur bones because I want to bring my energy and my awareness back to the midline. So I'm just sitting here for a little bit, like making sure I can feel where home is, right? Even though I've just been exerting. So I'm rocking a little bit because that actually feels good. So I'm like feeling that little bit of rock. and rhythm. Because one of the things that happens when you really work towards the midline hard is that you lose rhythm, right? So for me, it always helps to like, hey, I got to remember, I've got some rhythm here, right? And then those of you that can come forward and either your hands on your thighs or bring your elbows on the table if you're by a table. So now I don't know if you just heard how deeply I just took an exhalation, right? I got in an extended place. And before I started to focus on inhalation, I actually went a big exhalation because we've just been efforting a lot. And so now I'm using grounding and strength to help me be in the center. So now I want you on your inhalation, spread your sacrum at the same time. And then on an exhalation, lift your sternum. Inhale, spread across your sacrum. Exhale, lift your sternum in upward facing dog. It's starting again. Good, and then back up. Dang, I'm ready for this class to go a half hour longer. So I won't do that to all of you, but it's right here. It's like I'm ready to go now. Right? So I'm sitting because like we did a lot of the core stuff that allows a lot more movement, right? So we should twist, damn it. All right, I'm cutting. I just cut like 3 poses right there, right? So I want you to come forward, down a little bit lower, right? Take your hand behind you. And again, you're doing that twist. We're trying to, when you've done a lot of those, so be honest with yourself. Where's the place in your low back that when we're doing the upward facing dog that overworked? What are the couple of vertebrae? In this twist, make sure you're below that point and you're anchoring there, and lift the sternum so that place gets to receive, and it gets to receive the twist, the place you overworked, right? So you're not trying to crank this twist, you're trying to heal with this twist. You're trying to make sure that you're like nourishing the spot that overworked. Good, and then come on back to center, which means you've got to know your poses. You've got to catch your mistakes, because twisting after that kind of back bend, right, is like you've got to know the vertebrae that need your support. So now go the other way, come down a little farther again, right? Take the arm behind you. Make sure as you twist, you're lengthening exactly in the spot that you tend to exploit. And it's different on everybody's body, but it's usually in your lumbar spine, up a little bit from your tailbone, a little higher up, right? That's usually the place that people exploit, a little higher up in your back from there. So you're making sure you're bringing length there as you twist. Good, and then come on back to center. Be in the center. Find the symmetry. So right away, I hope you pulled back from your eyes. You practice pratyahara to find the symmetry. You know we're heading towards Shavasana, right? So you're feeling each side, right? Feeling each sitting bone. If your eyes are open right now, don't look at anything. Keep that softness in your eyes. Feel each foot on the floor, each sitting bone. And then prepare for Shavasana. So I'm going to switch a little bit, but I wanted to feel the symmetry so I could receive the support more equally. And again, find the position that works, the position for your arms. If that means you need to put something across your lap, I have super long arms. My brother used to always call me Spidey arms, a daddy long leg spider, so I can rest my hands on my thighs and have it be comfortable. But you want it to be comfortable. You want a sense of support and lightness. For me, the sensitivity is captured by my thumb, my fingertips, my thumb tips touching lightly. I'm going to go quickly and allow my brain, my organs of perception, the skin on my face, my temples, my jaw, the inside of the mouth. This place that you go to in Shavasana is the inside of every asana. Relax your belly to relax your throat. Allow your chair to support you. Feel your breath. Try not to change it. Keep the peace and the sense of empty space with you as you bring yourself back. Keep allowing it to be with you. Slightly deeper inhalation, slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes slightly or slowly, let the light in. Holy crap, I'm not closing my eyes again. Then I know what I'm in for. You know, one of the things about attachment is that, like, we're so caught up, like especially when you're navigating with disability, you're watching what's outside of you, you're managing stuff, you're thinking about stuff. You know, there's all these things you have to kind of not trust and manage, but also manage. And one of the consequences is because your mind is attached to all the things you have to do in your day and thinking about it, right? You tend not to bring the space with you that you are, right? And to me, what I've figured out is that it's really helpful for me to trust the space directly right around my body, to bring it with me. And it's awareness that when you're trying to manage your life, you don't do it all, right? But for me, it's a useful thing to think about. Like when I was saying about the twist, about bringing the space twist with the space behind you, like this space right around your body is actually your ally. People fill it up, judgment fills it up, all these attachments fill it up. But it's actually should come with you whenever you can. And that's part of what's so important about Shavasana and coming out of Shavasana. So you want to keep this calm with you. And part of it's your choice, right? Part of it, you've got to practice bringing the emptiness with you and not filling it with judgment, right? But our mind are going to want to fill it with judgment. And that's why there's asana, right? You move your body, you start to activate it, you get to bring it with you. I hope you're a little bit fatigued from the class. So that kind of colors the emptiness, right? Like you might be a little sore. It's like, bring it with you. Breathe into it all day. All right, everybody. Hands together. Namaste. Spirit in me bows the spirit in you.